Hey everyone, it's Metro. This is a very special topic to me. Typically I like to, mess around, have a good time, but I'm trying to take this serious, make a good guide, okay? This is for Gold Challenge Mode Scholomance. I play a monk tank in these. My main is a Holy Paladin though, so literally I don't do any monk tanking outside of challenge modes, and at some point I might make a video on why. But they are, in my opinion, by far the best tanks. Like, it's just absurd how useful they are in challenge modes. But anyway, this is going to be how we got gold on Scholomance, how you can get gold on Scholomance, and some ways that you can improve your times if you're right at the cusp, okay? Obviously, this is on normal mode, like the low-level shit. I'm going to walk you through the dungeon, tell you exactly what we did and where, step-by-step guide. A lot of other videos out there just kind of show the run, and that's useful, but I mean, this is a guide, okay? So step one, as a tank, as a group in general, obviously right out of the gate, you got to kill these two as fast as possible. As a tank, what I like to do is, for me anyway, take as little damage as possible. Don't forget, this is the goal, right? To make, as a tank, you don't want your mana of the healer to ever go down, basically, if possible. So I'll get both aggros. We'll focus one. We'll probably pick Skull, and I'll make the X, or the box, whatever I picked, to target my statue. And then by the time the statue is dead or the box is coming back to me, X will be dead, or Skull will be dead. Okay, so just kill these guys quick and move on to the next boss. Now, the next boss is obviously the easiest boss in here. This room would be hell if it was supposed to be done properly, but realize that, mark these guys here, the Skull and the X are no longer, these guys are threats, okay? You cannot afford to pull them. Now, conversely, if you hop down and don't aggro the boss, you will aggro that guy right there, the box, and that will add some time. So that's one way you need to make sure you avoid. The best way to do it is just use some range ability. I could throw my keg, it'll reach, but it takes so long that it doesn't aggro the boss by the time I fall. So I'd recommend maybe a Discipline Priest on a Shadow Word Pain, Holy Shock from a Paladin. Just any ranged ability, but I'll be on the top. Just rush up here, jump down, and aggro the boss and kill it as fast as possible. So you'll see the boss aggros, and you'll see how this mob, since it was attacking me before I aggroed it, is still in the fight, and that's very, very bad. Now, as I said, these mobs here, they're going to be a very, very big detriment. If you aggro one of them, you are going to add tons of time to your kill. So what I recommend is just staying very, very close to this area. I would recommend pulling the boss as the tank all the way back to this wall. Maximize your time on the shield, and it should die very quickly. I'd recommend using a Bloodlust here, as it'll be back up for when you need it on the third boss. That's exactly what we did. We killed it quite quick now. You'll just want to make sure you are cognizant of that. Obviously, that ad is never going to be in question once the fight is over, but you still need to skip that mob, so make sure your team is not dicking around. This guy here, same as the last room. You kill him quick, get him to about 60%, and then kite him into this room. Hopefully your DPS will finish him off there. This room is quite painful. There's, I believe, yeah, these two guys here. They do an ability, some type of disease or something like that, that does a ton of damage to a tank. So I'd recommend, this is a very, very good time for stun rotations. If you have anything to drop, drop damage for a bit, I would recommend using it. And then once again, these are three guys. So this is absolutely, as a tank, you need to pop everything you have. I'm popping Fortifying Brew and keeping both my normal cooldowns up, and even using a potion if needed. That will allow you to survive this without the healer having to drink. If he does have to drink, you're obviously going to have to stop, waste some time. This boss does no tank damage at all. The only damage she's going to do is when the picking of the little spinny guys comes out. All right, now when that happens, unfortunately, I don't have a guide for that. I don't know how it even works. Apparently, the trick to it is, there's two tricks. There's going to be some of them that don't look like her. Okay, so you need to know what she looks like. Here's her portrait. Let's move it down so everyone can see it. Okay, it's right in the middle of the screen now. Here's her portrait, okay? This is what she looks like. So get a mental image of this. If you target one of them and it doesn't look like her, it's not the one you need to kill. Past that, there's going to be, apparently the one that is her is more pink, all right? So everybody needs to figure this out beforehand, because if you kill a bunch of them that aren't her, you will wipe. It does way too much damage in challenge mode. So you need to figure that out. Somebody who's got a keen eye Look for the pink circles, make sure it's the right one, and kill it. And as long as you've done that quick, you'll maximize the time on the boss. That boss is a fucking joke. Now in this room, in normal mode, like in the regular heroics, everybody always kind of pulls that all at once and just goes AoE it down. You can do that in challenge mode, but they can't be stunned. Okay, so you're going to need everything to survive it, because that and the bone guards are just going to obliterate you. So I would recommend just going one at a time, you know, killing them, moving on, killing them, moving on. After 3, the bone guards are going to stack up. There's going to be like 10 or 15 of them. You can use an AoE stun on them. They're fully CCable, so I'd recommend doing that. Otherwise, just pop a defensive cooldown as a tank. You know, as DPS, you're just putting out your max AoE at this point, and then on the same thing on the other side. So you're going to kill the 3, move on to the back, and then all the skeletons that remain are going to be there. The boss will not spawn until you've killed all the skeletons that you're fighting. So just pop any defensive cooldowns you have now. Make sure you're saving long, like 3-minute cooldowns for the boss, as it is going to be quite a pain to survive. Now on this boss, on challenge mode, as the achievement states on the normal heroic version, he is going to... You don't want to get a lot of stacks, okay? Understand that. You want to be as close to him as possible so you get him. Don't accidentally let one... like the Death Knight has Death and Decay down, he gets meleeed, he's dead. Guaranteed. So you'll pick him up, keep Bone Shield on. All 5 people want to keep Bone Shield on. The best tactic for this guy, at least as survivability-wise, is just kite. You know, you get him to 6 stacks and then just start rolling around. If you're a monk, warrior, leap, paladin, speed boost, you know, Death Knight, Death's Advance, I don't know. But you might need some coordination between taunts and other people in the group. But otherwise, it's a very straightforward fight. As long as you don't let him get past so many stacks, you should have you'll never die. But this is not a fight you want to blow lust on. It seems like it might be a good one because of how much damage he does, but it's very easily avoidable as long as you have some coordination in the group. And now this next room is going to be a pain. I'll tell you why at the end, but essentially you need so many mobs to complete this instance, right? And this big guy here, the Flesh Horror, is only 1 mob despite having all these things on him. This guy fucking hurts really, really bad. And you could try to pull, you know, just him at once, but you can't do it. You just don't have enough time unless you're absolutely shitting on bosses. So what we did is we picked up this guy, everyone around him, and all these Krasnovian guys, okay? They do very little damage and in fact can die because of a debuff that gets put out during this fight, right? So, yeah. You pop everything you have for that guy. I'd recommend, you know, rolling away, side to side, stuns, all the cooldowns you have. You're not going to need them again for a very long time, so definitely use them there. All, you know, DPS won't want to really, they don't want to pop nothing crazy, but, you know, you want to make sure you're on the right page for surviving that pack. It's going to be a crazy AoE pack. A tank is going to get crushed, so healer, pop everything you have. Then you pull this final guy as I've just did. Kill him alone. You should not take any damage. This is a good time for, you know, to catch up. You don't need cooldowns for that guy, and that's it. You've now moved through the room at a very, very brisk pace. Obviously, the tank should be doing a lot of DPS, getting a lot of vengeance. This boss, okay, now here's the trick we employed. This was a pretty key part to our kill, to our time. I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it definitely helps. If you have a healer that has a badass DPS spec, right? So we have Vicario, you may know him. He went DPS. He went Shadow. Okay, he's a priest. And because of that, actually on the gold time we got, it didn't work. But because of that, we would have been able to skip an entire phase on her, cutting off nearly 1.5 minutes. Right, that's insanity. If you can skip, you pop Lust at like, that's so much time. I think it's percent based, maybe 60, 40%, something like that. She gets picked up in the air, okay? And when that happens, it's timed from there on out. The boss, like the end boss is the one who's manipulating her. And you have like so many seconds. And if you could manage to kill her before she goes into her next phase, you negate the entire phase. You can do it very easily on, you know, normal heroic difficulty. But on challenge mode, it's going to be a lot more challenging. You're going to need actual, you know, 5 DPS essentially. So Nobody's going to take any damage. Don't worry about that. But if you don't make it, you're fucked. You're going to have to, somebody's going to have to heal, because the next phase, she's going to grip you. But the closer you can get her down, the better, because if you do get into that third final phase of this boss, with her only at 1 or 2%, she might not even get the grip off. So it's a give and take. Now in this room, originally we assumed that a potion passed them all. Invis potion passed them all. So here, check it out. This is how we originally did it. Okay, pop the belt and just run. Just run past them all. They won't aggro. You know what I mean? This is how this works. This is a very, very lucrative strategy for challenge mode. Run past them, go pull the boss, right? That's what we originally did, and it seemed to make sense at the time. But after we killed the boss, we realized we still needed a lot more mobs. Okay, so what you have to do to get enough mobs is you have to pull the first and the last pack in this room. So here is the last pack. Okay, so you're going to aggro them and run around the corner. Make sure they all get in here, because they all do casts and stuff. You don't want them dicking around. This is a pretty serious pack. They do a lot of AoE damage. They do shadow damage, stuff like that. So get them in there. And then obviously on the other side of the room, you would have wanted to pull the first pack. So I'll demonstrate that from the back perspective. But, you know, here we go. So you've just killed this boss, right? As soon as this boss is dead, our healer goes back our DPS healer goes back healer. He gets mana, and as he's getting mana, I run in there. You have to actually get on this side of the mobs. I did not realize that. Aggro them, and then run back, pull them all the way back. They're going to do this fire breath potion. They're going to do some other stuff, but once again, just cool down through it if you're a tank. Heal through it if you're a healer. DPS, try to AoE a bit, but mostly focus down and interrupt some of the targets, and you'll be good. This room will be cleared. You could invis pop past the rest of it, which I absolutely recommend. 100% mandatory. Absolutely, no questions asked. Okay, so once you're done with this room, we'll move on to the last boss. Okay, so all the events leading up to this boss have essentially been for naught if you can't deal with this boss correctly. It's not a very complicated fight, but there are absolutely a few things that can just fuck you entirely, and you will be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So here's a description of it. All right, you get here. I think we had like 4 minutes when we got here. We had plenty of time to kill him, but that's not the challenge. The challenge is, if you know this fight, he's going to pick somebody to go in the room, and you're going to have to AoE all the ads when you're in there. Now, the reason this is a challenge is because, from what we understand, the first person is always the tank. Okay, and he's putting out I think it's Incinerate. I think it's called Incinerate. It's basically the Warlock spell, right? And it is ticking on you when you're in there. So if you go in there with that on and not full health, and you don't have some way of healing yourself, you're not prepared to heal yourself, you're not prepared to cool down through it, you will die. And if the tank dies, that's it. It's over. Can't be rezzed because in that room till the room opens anyway. Somebody's got to run in there, and it's a fucking shit fest. So it shouldn't happen. It's bad luck if it does, but if it does happen, it's like, what the fuck? Because you've made it this far, and now you've just died to a mechanic that you wouldn't even think of as an issue. Now, it's going to go tank and then a DPS. DPS is in there. Obviously, they need to pop their cooldowns and get the fuck out of there as fast as possible, get back on the boss. And then it's going to go healer. And that gets even more tricky. The healer will be able to heal himself, obviously. He shouldn't die. But if he can't do substantial AoE damage, he's probably going to be stuck in there for a while. So as a tank, as DPS, you need to pop any type of cooldowns you have. Make sure now that the tank's back, he's taunted the boss. And as soon as the healer's back, you're good to go. If it happens another time, you likely didn't have enough time to kill the boss anyway. But I would recommend, popping any cooldowns you have left. Obviously, Lust is still on cooldown from Vivian if you used our strategy, but he's going to summon a ton of AoE ads. So as a monk tank, that's what I'm saving my Tiger for, saving bigger cooldowns for, because they're going to hit hard. They're going to target DPS. You got to get as much damage on them as possible, as quick as possible, so they don't kill any of your DPS. But other than that, as long as the tank and the healer, do their rooms fairly easy, the fight's pretty simple. The run is probably one of the easier ones in our opinion. But hopefully this guide has helped you. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. The invis pot is absolutely crucial, so if you're considering not doing that, make sure you do. But remember that if you skip all the mobs in that room and you followed our strategy word for word, you won't have enough mobs. So you'd either have to kill more of the Krastovian guys or pull the 2-packs like I recommend. But that's that. Hope you guys enjoy. Good luck. I think let's check out our time. I'll show you exactly what our time was. Where's it at? Yep. Our time was 17:51. It's 19 minutes for gold. And the realm best is 17:36, so we were pretty close. But like world best is like 10. I don't even know how they do it. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys.